Now, before we move on, I want to tell you all about something called fractal geometry. If you don't like math, this may be a little boring for you, but I find this the most interesting thing. In 1975, a guy named Benoit Mandelbrot coined the term fractal geometry from the Latin term fractus, which can mean broken or fractured. A mathematical fractal is something based on an equation that undergoes iteration. Don't let this big word scare you. I'll explain it in a second. But iteration is the act of repeating a process, usually with the aim of reaching a desired result. Each repetition of that process is known as iteration, and the results of iteration are used for the starting point for the next iteration. Now, this isn't meant to confuse you, so just think of a computer taking an image and doubling that image, and then doubling the image again and doubling it again. That is basically what iteration is. Mandelbrot looked at the world around him, and he realized that everything that we see, from the clouds in the sky to the shape of the mountains to the way lava flows, everything is based on geometry. Now, when he first proposed this, people thought he was insane. They actually just completely rejected him. But within a few short years, the scientific world realized that Mandelbrot was right. Fractals can identify cancerous cells in a body simply by analyzing the flow of blood through the body. Streams and rivers flow in a fractal way. Leaves are fractal. Lightning is fractal. The human body is fractal. Wings, spores, viruses, coastlines, planets, galaxies. Our skeletal system, every single thing that you can see and think of is based on fractal geometry. Even the crashing of the waves when they come in are based on fractal geometry. Now, with the advent of the use of computers for TVs and movies, you almost cannot get a job in the movie industry as a graphics designer without understanding the use of fractal geometry. The first time, believe it or not, that fractal algorithms were used in a movie was in Star Trek, The Wrath of Khan, to produce the Genesis effect. If you all saw that, I love Star Trek. Later, in the movie The Return of the Jedi, fractals were used to create the geography of the moon that we saw in there, and also the dreaded Death Star that went around zapping planets out of existence. And fractal signals can also be used to model natural objects. So it allows filmmakers to define the environment in a way with much higher accuracy than they ever were before in filming industry. Now, having told you about fractal geometry, I thought that I'd take a moment and tell you about a supposition that a biologist made about the form of a virgin forest. I watched this on PBS and I was astonished at their thinking. He determined that if you cut down a single tree in a virgin forest and measure that single tree, you could estimate the sizes of every tree in the entire forest. So they went down, these guys, he and a team of people flew down to South America, and they cut down a single tree, and they measured every branch from the biggest branches on the bottom to the littlest twigs all the way up to the top of the tree. And then